exploring minds through insightful conversation. This is the Ian Scotto Podcast.
Yeah, Ian Scotto Podcast. Ian Scotto here, and that, of course, is the brutal sounds of King Conqueror, because James Mislow of King Conqueror is going to be joining me, unfortunately for a limited amount of time. Being in a touring band like King Conqueror, got to come home, get some work done, and sometimes that means having a really packed schedule. So he let me know he's only going to be able to join me for a limited amount of time, as you can probably see from the length of this podcast, but that's okay. I'm glad to have him on. I met James at King Conqueror show in Long Island recently, talking politics, and felt like this is a guy I got to get on, because I think they're waking up people with their music, which is really cool. So thank you guys for tuning in week after week, checking out the podcast, just keeping this up with a very limited budget and I would say limited staff, but it's really just me doing this week after week. And I appreciate you guys on the facebook.com/Ian Scotto Podcast, on Twitter @Scotto Podcast. I got to get some more Twitter followers. So if you're on Twitter, please follow me, twitter.com/Scotto Podcast. Also on Instagram @Ian Scotto Podcast. So yeah, we're doing something different every week, and I'm glad to be having James on, who's the singer from King Conqueror. Before I even get into why I brought you on and everything, and there's a million reasons, because people are probably thinking there's tons of bands that I listen to, and this is the first, well, actually I had on Intrinsic, but the first member of a hardcore or metal band that I've had on. There's been some like controversy in the King Conqueror camp. Do you even want to go into that, or would you rather not? But I've just been seeing all this stuff online, so I figured I have to ask first for the fans of your band.
I want to say that we had to depart with John because basically it's just his overall attitude. No, I don't want to say anything bad about him, but because I don't want to give him any more hype, because
Sure.
I don't want, I just want this kind of get over with. But he's blowing everything out of the water, and he's making it sound like we're a bunch of jerks, which is not the case. Because if you had met any of us in King Conqueror, you know that we're very nice dudes.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
I think for myself.
I would say you're all very nice dudes, definitely. even though the music might be very angry and people, might always get that impression, a lot of the times, the guys in a lot of metal bands who have a heavier sound are some of the nicest people ever. So I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
More importantly, I do want to tell people why I actually brought you on. So I could say that my introduction was to King Conqueror was actually at that mixtape fest in Long Island, which you guys played at along with a million other bands. I could see that you guys like to interact with the fans even before you went on, especially your bassist, man. Like, he likes to just talk with people, and I can tell he's a very just social dude. So,
oh yeah, Adam is, and it's hard. Sometimes we'll stop at like gas stations, and he'll be talking to random people, and we're like, yo, we got a 5-hour drive, we gotta go, man.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I could tell he's that kind of guy, which is cool. Like, he likes to just talk with the people at shows. And I had no knowledge of your band before that. Saw you guys play, thought you were great. You guys were reminiscent of a lot of bands I like. I would say the Acacia Strain. I don't know if they're an influence of you guys.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, they're awesome.
And then I saw you guys were playing a local show more recently, and so checked out some more stuff. Liked your sound. Saw that the album was called 1776 that would be coming out, but didn't really know how political of a band you guys were. And then I read the actual lyrics in some of the lyric videos, which, anybody who's a fan of your band will know it's hard to make out the lyrics sometimes unless you're actually reading them in front of you. So as I saw the lyrics, I felt like this is a band that I'm totally behind the message. I love the message of just constitutionalism, just libertarianism, I guess you could say. Yeah. And then I saw you guys recently, said that to your bassist, and I think he kind of pointed me in your direction, was like, well, this is the guy who's behind all that. He's the guy who loves to talk politics like that. And sometimes just you get to meet people at shows that you connect with on another level. And for me, when I started talking with you, I could tell you're a person who has the same thoughts as me politically and sees this country going down the same road that I do.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, we had a really good talk. It's hard talks like that with people on the road too, because a lot of people around the country, because we tour a lot, they're not on the same page. They don't really know what's going on with the country. You know what I mean?
But the funny thing is, your band talks about that stuff all the time. But I guess some people are just more attracted to King Conquer for the music than the message.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, they'll get into it, and they'll, but most people they really how do I say? Yeah, they really only get into the music mostly and the image and stuff like that, and the sound and the genre. But other than that, like a lot of people, we swayed them the right way.
Sure.
I mean, instead of the left or right, I mean, whatever, same crap that they.
You can curse, man. That's fine. Same bullshit.
Oh, sweet. Okay. But yeah, what I mean, and like we sway a lot of people to be more constitutionalist than being a Republican. You know what I mean? Or
Sure.
to choose that, like, hey, we have to go by what these people say. You know what I mean? We have to be like a strict Republican that believes everything that the news tells them. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But the funny thing is, it's kind of like the weird thing with a band like yours is there's going to be people who are attracted to the music who really don't get the message or get into the message. And then there's probably people who would love your message that just don't dig your type of music.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because constitutionalists and I would say libertarians are from all walks of life. So you're going to obviously meet people that are metalheads that believe in that message, and then people that think it's the crappiest music ever but would love what you guys are all about.
Yeah. Hopefully, get with both sides. That would be awesome. Yeah, it's cool. We try to get everybody on the same page with us. You know what I mean? I think we have our views are pretty simple. You know what I mean? Like, so if you really want to know where our views are, you can just come up to us and we'll talk about.
And you could just read the lyrics in the lyric videos, because that's what made me say, all right, yeah. I'm completely on board with you guys. So getting into your background before we even get into the band itself, I feel like anybody who has a vision of constitutional republic, who believes in the thoughts that you guys do, kind of comes to that conclusion at some point in their life. I don't think anyone is born with this idea that we have to follow the Constitution strictly or anything like that. I think there's an awakening that some people have at one point or another. I know for me, I did several points in my life. Was there like a moment where you said, what you were taught from, because I feel like what I was taught from when I was very little to until I got older, a lot of it were lies, and a lot of it was perpetuated stuff in both education and religion. And then as I got older, I kind of saw my own ways of things and had a very different vision of the way I see the way this country should go. So for you, was there one or several points where you kind of woke up to things going on?
I think one of the first started questioning like everything and started like saying that, because I was growing up being Republican and a strict Christian.
Sure.
And listen to what my parents had to say, and like I love them to death, but
sure.
Like their views are extremely horrible. I'm not, what they believe is absolutely ass backwards to what I believe. You know what I mean? And
no, and I know what you mean. And sometimes it's people that you love, and it's you're not criticizing the way you were raised, but sometimes you realize like things are. I can tell you with religion and politics in my family, my values are definitely different than theirs in some ways, and I still do, have great feelings of them and love some of their values, but I'm a different person than them.
Yeah. I think I can't really quite remember when I woke up to it. It was, I think, online, just basically researching. I felt though every time I watched the media, like I was like, man, everything I read or what's seen on the media, it's always lies. Like they always lie to us, and like I was like, why do they keep lying to us? And then I started researching and like learning like about like what's going on, like really with the country, you know what I mean? And like I think the first part was when 9/11 happened. I questioned why did we go to Iraq, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It depends, like whatever reason it was. But at a young age, I realized, like, my parents couldn't give me a really good answer. They go, well, because there's terrorists, and they bombed us, and I go, oh, okay. And then later on, I always like said in my head, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's weird. Like, why did we just, if they're not even from the same country, why did we invade? You know, if they were the terrorists from Afghanistan, why did we invade Iraq? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it just didn't make sense. I felt the same way at that time.
Yeah, and I was even like, it was 2001. I'm 24, so I was pretty young. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And at a young age, like learning that, I started, questioning everything that I was getting from the media, and what I was learning from my school, and from my teachers, and from my parents, and then I think around when I was 18, I think Ron Paul really swayed me over to being a constitutionalist. I think he was the only person I had like the same views, that had the same like outlook look on like everything that I believed in. And then I started getting into the Federal Reserve, like what the Federal Reserve is doing to our country, sound money, and just like in the government getting like bigger. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
and getting our lives too much. And that's what I loved about Ron Paul, because he was always talking about, if we allow this government to get so big, it's just going to keep getting in our lives. And we allow them to get in our food. We allow them to get into our Medicare. We allow them to get into like in our monetary system. You know what I mean? And
sure.
It just it's not right. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Because I had the same thing with Ron Paul. I mean, I could tell you that the first election I ever voted in was in I'm 26, so I'm 2 years older than you. I'm about to be 27. So the first election I ever voted in was the election of John Kerry and George Bush, and I voted for John Kerry. And if you told me that 4 years later I'd be supporting a Republican, I would say you're nuts. I think that I was kind of raised more to the left on some things, even though not extremely or anything. A tipping point for me, actually, which was kind of funny, was that I was raised Jewish. I don't believe in any particular religion anymore, I would say. I don't really just believe in organized religion as a whole, but I was bar mitzvahed and all that. I went to a Reformed Jewish temple, and I remember we went to Washington, D.C. when I did confirmation, which was like post-bar mitzvah, and it was like, I think it was around 15 or 16 at the time. So we went to Washington, D.C. to lobby for basically Reformed Jewish ideas. One of them, for example, was that they believed Reformed Jews in general are very they're very, I guess they would say pro-choice. I mean, I would say pro-abortion to some extent. Really extreme left wing on that, and they wanted it to be that like if you murdered a pregnant woman, they did not want you to be charged for a double murder. And I remember, just as a person back then who wasn't even pro-life the way I am today, was like, this doesn't make sense to me. Why wouldn't you charge someone for a double murder if they murder a pregnant woman and kill their fetus? To me, that just didn't make sense. And I, like I said, was not strictly pro-life at the time. And I was just like, why are they using teenagers to push this message? And they were also pushing anti-death penalty and stuff like that, which I kind of still am, on the fence about things like that. But I didn't get why you would push 16-year-olds or however old I was to go to D.C. when they really don't have, the information yet, and to lobby for these ideas that you want to push. You're using children, basically, and who haven't really developed their thoughts on things. So I remember that was a bit of a tipping point for me, where I was just like, this isn't really making sense. And then I went to college, still thought of myself as a liberal, and that was actually the year that I voted for John Kerry, because I felt like he was the guy who was against the war, and that was one of the main reasons. But slowly started seeing, some of these problems with, I think, what I believed in, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, and much like you, 4 years later when I saw Ron Paul up on there. And I don't think it's like a worship of the man for us, the way that these people worshipped Obama when he came up. It was just that his ideas spoke to me, his ideas of limited government. It was like this was the first person I really felt that was up there speaking about a message of freedom and limited government, and I agreed with that message.
it's amazing how many eyes and ears he opened up to the liberty movement. You know what I mean? Which is like, it's. I think it's still being strong, but like I don't think it was as strong as he was running for office.
And a lot of people see Ron Paul as a guy who was ineffective because at the end of the day, he didn't become the president and all that. But I just think if you're opening up people's eyes, as you said, more people are looking into things on the internet because of him. And I think even because of people like us, when they hear someone like you, they're looking into these things we talk about on the internet. And as I said, when I met you at the King Conquer show that you guys played in Long Island, I think when people overhear us talking about things like drones and these attacks going on and government surveillance, we sound like a bunch of paranoid people, but it's really going on. I don't think we sound crazy if people were really in the know of what's going on with government surveillance.
Yeah, why are we crazy that we question that the government is like surveillancing us? Yeah, because they do it all the time, and they openly talk about it. The CIA, they just. I was listening to an NPR interview and with a CIA agent. She was saying how they get information every year from records from like AT&T and all these big companies, and they sell them to the CIA so they can like watch over us, and that's pretty scary. And like, why don't we have any say in that? You know what I mean? Why don't we have like, hey, you shouldn't do that? Like, cause that's wrong. That's unconstitutional. You know what I mean? And now they're passing all these internet bills that just got the one that just got passed recently.
CISPA, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I can't believe they do stuff like that. And then with the drones and like, I know I'm going off.
No, that's fine. That's what this podcast is all about, man.
Yes. I like it. It's awesome.
There's a ton of stuff going on that people need to open their eyes to. So, people might wonder what made you want to make King Conquer a band that, and I don't know if it was fully your idea or all the members. What made you guys want to put that message in the music? Because there's not a lot of bands in whatever genre you guys consider yourself, deathcore or metalcore. I don't know what I hate the whole labeling of music anyway, but either way, there's not a lot of bands that have your style that are putting forth the political message that you guys are. It's pretty original.
Well, there's a few bands out there that there's like Molotov Solution. They have a strong political aspect on their view their lyrics. I Declare War, one of their CDs, there was a bunch of they talked about the same stuff that we talk about. It was, I think, how we got into the political. Personally, when I got in the band, I've been talking about politics since the EP was called Decomposing the Malady, and I talked about everything from like all my political views, and then from everybody's viewpoints and how we live life and how we see America, and like just our daily lives. And we put that in our lyrics, and we thought that we should put more political aspect on what we believe in, because this time in our life there need to be a more stronger liberty movement. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's we're definitely going down the wrong path if we keep following these political leaders, which are sending us to war and into more in debt and like more bigger government, which we're absolutely totally against.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? But yeah, like I think what raged us more was just how the world is, and we're just like it's hard not to talk about it, and I don't understand why bands don't talk about it more, because it's everyday life.
I guess part of it though is also that this music attracts so many different kinds of people that the political message isn't going to attract everybody, so you don't want to turn off part of your audience, I think, is the fear for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we try not to, but also, yeah, this music is aggressive. It's violent. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's revolutionary. You know what I mean? It's very. You have to have an ear for it. You know what I mean?
Definitely, man.
And most majority of lyrics that come out from bands are talking about like gore and like cutting up people and like just fiction, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And we're like, we don't want to talk about that, you know what I mean? Or
And it's also, it seems kind of trivial because at the end of the day, there is real gore going on by our government, in other countries especially.
Oh, yes, definitely. And like all the airstrikes that they do every single day on overseas, you know what I mean? Killing hundreds and hundreds of people.
No, I know what you mean. I'm not someone who likes to live in a fake world at the end of the day. That's why I'm not someone who's constantly out seeing movies. There's so much more to learn. I'd rather see documentaries about things going on because what's happening in the movies is really nothing compared to what's going on in real life, especially in these times.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So that's why I kind of am attracted to music that's going to talk about real things going on as opposed to just fictional stories. And I think that's what attracts me to you guys. So how long have you been in King Conquer? Like, where did it all start, and how did it get to this point that it's at today? I mean, you guys have gotten pretty big.
Well, we started. I wasn't in the band. But I got in the band around 2009, and we made the EP, called Decomposing the Melody, and then we made a full length. And been touring since nonstop, trying to get promote our CDs and stuff, and then now we're putting out the CD. 1776 should be out June 11th.
Awesome.
Which is we're really excited. It took forever to put this together.
No, I know. The first show that I saw you guys at that I spoke about was a year ago, and you guys were out there promoting 1776.
Yeah, but it wasn't our fault. Let's just say, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know. There's a lot of politics that goes on, and also there's just it's a very hard life for bands out there, for people who don't know what it's like to be in a metal band and doing local shows. By the way, for anybody who does want to check out the band, who's yet to check them out, they're on Facebook, facebook.com/KingConquerFL, as in Florida. Twitter @KingConquerFL, same thing. So check them out. Check out the podcast, of course, as well. I'll throw in my own plug there at Scotto Podcast, and on Facebook at Ian Scotto Podcast. So what went into writing 1776, the new album that's coming out?
We jammed out. We usually have band practice, and we just get together and we jam out, and we're we put a couple songs together, and then we all together, all the band put all the lyrics together, and we went into the studio, and I put down the vocal patterns and the vocals, and did all the drums, and it was a pretty easy process of doing it. And it only took a couple weeks, so 2 weeks I think for the whole thing to be done.
Nice, man. I'm really psyched for it to come out. You guys put on an awesome live show. I mean, anybody who hasn't seen you guys definitely should go out there, check out whatever tour dates you have coming up, because it's an awesome show. I think people who do go to metal shows realize it's, especially local shows like the last one I saw you at tiny venues. It's like a whole nother world, actually. The lead singer of Deserters, Matthew, that opened for you guys, basically kind of said it best when he opened and said that when we're in here, we could say whatever the fuck we want, as loud as we want. And it's like, to the outside world, we're just a social security number. We're just whatever amount of debt that we have. And it's a feeling of individuality when you go to these shows. And I think people think of it as really negative because of the music, but there's actually definitely a lot of positivity, I feel like, in the scene in general.
Oh, yes, definitely. He's such a inspiration to me too. Matt from Deserters, he's such a good front man. His views are probably the same as me. He just I don't think he likes the government as much. He doesn't think he's more of a kind of against the whole thing, the whole system. You know what I mean? Which I try to make it equal. Say that it's okay to have a government. You know what I mean? We have to have a government.
No, and you just believe in a constitutional limited government.
Yeah, correct. So, but yeah, man, he's the shows. Majority of the kids that come out there are kids that are going through some rough times. You know what I mean? That they can't express going to like a rave or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They have to go to somewhere where they like the people like talking about the same views as them. You know what I mean? Or just pissed off as them. Because we're pissed off because we're pissed off at our government. You know, we're pissed off at society. We're just pissed off at everything. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, like what Matt said, it's the only place
But
we can go.
it's good to have, like, everybody needs that release. I think not having that release is the problem, man. I mean, there's nothing I like more lately than hitting the gym, listening to really aggressive music and getting that out, and then, you know, going home, living my peaceful life.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree.
I know we got to wrap early because you got a lot of other stuff going on. What is the main message you want to get out there about King Conqueror and about what you're trying to portray in the lyrics of your band?
Well, we want to portray that. Oh man, holy crap! You caught me off guard. Well, we don't want you to think how we want to think. We want you to have your own opinion on how the government should be. You know what I mean? It's who are us to tell you how to think? You know what I mean? What we're here is to tell you, look, we don't need, the government is too big, and it doesn't need to be this big to function. You know what I mean? It's getting in our lives too much, and everybody needs to stick together instead of going astray and believing in this right-left paradox. You know what I mean? All we say is that keep educating yourself, keep learning, keep reading. Don't stick to Fox News or MSN. Keep looking for new places to educate yourself because, you know what I mean, don't let them tell you how to think. You know what I mean? Don't let us tell you how to think. So basically, just try to live your life as best you can, and hopefully you like our music. And if you like our music, sweet. If you don't, then it's all good.
Well, there you have it. James Mislow of King Conqueror. Check them out. Keep up with the podcast, of course, at Scotto Podcast on Twitter, Facebook.com/Ian Scotto Podcast. Awesome to have James on. Would have liked to have gone longer, and I know he's doing a million things at once, being that he's working while he's home, while the band's not on the road. But we'll be back to doing our full hour each week. But these things do happen where we got to limit the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in as always, and stay tuned for more great stuff. Thanks.